You're listening to In Response, a legacy podcast. A show where three handsome guys talk about their favorite Magic the Gathering format, Legacy. This show is brought to you by createness@anycost.com and austrian-legacy.com. You can support the show at patreon.com/response_legacy. And now, lean back and enjoy.
Hello everyone and welcome to the second iteration, a civilized discussion about the BNR announcement of
In Response, a legacy shortcast.
I'm Philipp Klein.
I'm Daniel.
And I'm Peter Plank.
And we're talking about the BNR announcement.
Exactly.
So guys, you probably heard about it. I mean, you were in the picture a little bit earlier than myself, I think. But I was taken aghast by the news today. So tell me, Peter, what was the huge news?
I think it's that we lost some two beloved members of the legacy format. Expressive Iteration and Wild Plume Adventurer got banned on the 6th of March. And yeah, seems like a good deal.
Absolutely. I think, honestly, it really struck me a little bit by surprise. Reading that, like, kind of out of nowhere. Philip, we were kind of meeting at the restaurant today, and Philip, you said you just sat down, you had your kind of, you ordered your beer, I think, and then you just read the news. So the question is now, we had a little bit of pre-discussion about it. What is it impacting the format for? This is probably the question that all people who play Legacy would like to answer themselves.
At first, I mean, I haven't read about. I have read only the news, but I didn't read the BNR announcement. Peter, can you summarize the reasoning from what's behind these bans?
They basically said the two biggest decks in the format are basically the initiative decks and Blue Red Delver. They have a symmetric effect on the field that either deck of them deconstructs our opposing decks, and they have a meta share of above 30%. And basically, they pressure the format hugely and invalidate like fringe strategies, which results in less deck building, and they wanted to free the metagame a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. One big reason that what they said is, historically, Delver was supposed to be or operate like a tempo deck that operates very, very nicely on a one-to-one basis, but fails to really execute a nice card advantage or attrition game plan. An Expressive Iteration fulfilled that role for a long time for Delver, and having this out of the equation really helps to power it down a little bit in terms of other decks, of course, because the Delver is not now anymore able to refuel their threat base any longer, and therefore Iteration is a really, really good pick from them, I think, especially because it also hits the most successful control deck in 4-color control, which also made a really, really good utilization of this card.
I gotta admit, the ban isn't enough for me. I still think that probably one of the threats has to go in the near future. But I'm pretty sure that Expressive had to go. It was so obscene, actually, if you think about it. It's always a draw. It's always a draw too. Sometimes even better, because you shuffle away or you put down away a bad card that you simply don't want to have, and you're pretty sure if you don't fetch, you don't see it for the whole game, actually. And so therefore it was, for me, it was a clear pick. but I don't think it will power down Delver that much, actually. I think there are even... it will power it down for sure, but not that amount that people are hoping for, I guess.
I think the big effect that it will have on Delver is like, as Daniel already said, it will eliminate one axis of attack, which is the late game. Because like Delver current in the previous iteration, with Expressive iteration, was really strong in the like days pickup and Mystic Sanctuary, play the Mystic Sanctuary, put back the Expressive iteration on top, have another 2-for-1, and play like 6 to 7 Expressive iteration in the whole game, which is like absurd if you think about it. And now you don't have access to the additional 2, 3, 4, or in rare cases even 6 or 7 cards, which is a huge deal, especially against control strategies. So I think the good Delver hands where you have like turn 1 drop, turn 2 1-drop, and a Ponder, or even 2 1-drops, and then on turn 3 you have like a Ponder in the Daze and a Force of Will, and on turn 4 you at latest drop your Murktide. These draws will exist even with whatever cards will fill in the slot, but the late game is hugely disrupted by the ban.
I agree. I think, Philipp, you're totally right that Delver will probably still be the best deck. I would definitely agree. But this kind of rebuilding capability is definitely not so big of an issue anymore. Because I know Merc deck can win games, for sure. That's absolutely no question. But when you get to remove it, and speaking of, we have 2 1-mana really, really good cards in the format, which is Blast, or even 2 types of Blast, if we want to think, and Source of Plowshares. They can easily and effectively deal with a Murktide Regent. It is less likely that they find another one and drop the second one. So I guess on average, a Delver player will play, I don't know, from 2.x times a Murktide per game down to below 2, I don't know, on average. And this is something that really helps other strategies that could not utilize Expressive iteration to have a good angle of attack against Delver. Like, I don't know, any control or attrition-based deck that is not playing iteration. We talked about Esper, for example, or Band. Those kind of strategies really look interesting to explore right now. Even though I think the Red Blast is still a very, very good card to have. And I definitely think you most of the time want at least a small splash for those cards still.
I'm not 100% sold on the thing that you need the blast, because if you have decks with 4 Swords to Plowshares, you have enough ways to handle Murktide, in my opinion. But yeah, you're totally right about the refueling capabilities of Delver. And I also think that it's good that they're gone. But actually, in my opinion, one of the biggest things here in this BNR announcement is also the banning of White Plume Adventurer. It's not that I thought that the initiative deck was too oppressive, even though it was extremely strong. I always said that I think it's on par with Legacy power level, but the problem is it pushed away some of the natural predators of Delver, like Doomsday, for instance, because as a Doomsday player you simply couldn't handle the sheer power of the White Plume Adventurer and the Seasoned Dungeoneer coming down so fast if you're losing half your life from the Doomsday. And Doomsday, although it has not the best Delver matchup, is simply a deck that Delver always has to fear a little bit, because it can be so fast. And yeah, in my opinion, the banning of White Plume Adventure frees up even more space in the meta game to handle this new kind of Delver deck that will emerge from the ashes of Expressive iteration.
Yeah, I fully agree. And I would actually draw a parallel here for the White Plume adventure to Expressive iteration, in the sense that for a Stompy deck like Initiative, it kind of acted as a value endgame grind engine on its own. Typically, Stompy decks are like what they're designed to drop 1 or 2 big threats on the first or second turn and then typically run out of gas. If they have naturally the Initiative, they will never run out of gas. They will have some kind of advantage without any additional investment. And it's also easy to protect when you have like a deck full of creatures. So I fully also think that because of that, other Stompy decks, other strategies, especially also Doomsday, will be a lot more attractive for people to explore.
Yeah, and one thing that is kind of cute in this banned restricted announcement is like, on the one side we have Delva, where we shave the end game. On the other side we have Initiative, where we shave the early game. The huge problem with Initiative was like the sheer success rate on a turn 1 Initiative creature. It is like so strong in developing like previously Mono-Red Stompy to have the free drop on turn 1. Now you shave the only free drop that will put the Initiative into play on turn 1. And now you only have the 4 drops, which means that the usual turn comes down from 1.5 more to turn 2 nowadays, to drop the Initiative creature, which is way slower, so that we have time to develop your own 1-drop in some kind, even if it's a Noble Hierarcher, for example, something that can attack into the Initiative creatures to get the Initiative back. So it's actually a huge nerf to the Initiative deck.
So guys, going forward, what do you think will the meta shape up like? What do you think will it look like? And what are your sleeper picks?
Good question. I think that's the question to answer here. I think, like already mentioned, Delver will still be the best deck. There's a lot of options they could explore. One of the options would be to try out a little bit more of the Mercurial Spell Lancer that is kind of floating around a little bit. This would be my guess. I think Baubles might see a full playset now, because Dragon Rage Channeler is still one of the best kind of consistency granting cards Delver has. And besides that, yeah, some people and Predict could be like a nice addition. I personally don't think this will be a card that they will adapt for as a core strategy, more like a flex slot probably. This is what I think about Delver. For Control, for example, I think it will completely stay the same. I think Sylvan Library will see a little bit of a comeback. Typically, it was a one of flex slot, and afterwards it can be a 2 or 3 of in the main, and 1 or 2 extra additional disruptive elements. And the mana base can be a little bit shifted towards being heavier on banned colors. That's my guess for the Control versions. And besides that, of course, combo decks definitely have a little bit of new air. I'm thinking also this new banned Natural Order deck potentially and probably has a boost now, because Expressive iteration from being gone from all the other decks is very much a benefit for that. And speaking of myself, of course, I think that actually Breakfast is a little bit better now, just because it was good before, and I think it only really took a little bit of time so that people picked up the deck and tried kind of like focused and consistent lists that they can play in the current meta, which hasn't really happened all that much in the past. And so this would be kind of my prediction for the meta.
I think that the meta will pretty much stay the same in some kind, but with Initiative and losing actually a lot of steam, and Devil losing a little bit of steam. I think this is the overall metagame won't change that much. I think combo will come back a little bit, reanimate the strategies and stuff like that, which can be a resurgence for like minor misstep, resurgent, or the reveal of the true power of the card. But yeah, I think the meta will be close to what it is currently. I don't think we will have any huge shakeups in some form, like blue-white control is now back on the menu. But yeah, we will see how it develops.
I'm not so sure about this, because with Expressive Iteration out of the equation, there's now room for maybe some kind of Saint Catherine control going really wild, actually, because it was such a non-bow with Expressive Iteration that you simply couldn't really play the two in the same deck. Also, I think Comet, the Stellar Pup, is also a really, really strong card that has been pretty much overlooked. Also, I think, like I said beforehand, Doomsday will be now on a big upswing, which I don't think is that good for Breakfast. And also, my sleeper pick for the new meta is Mono Black Initiative, because you have 12 initiative cards costing CMC 4. We have Dark Ritual and then the Tombs and the fast mana. You never had this in white, and Mono Black Initiative looks really, really solid right now.
Yeah, I definitely agree on the Doomsday. Doomsday will come back more, and I can't wait to see Mono Black Helm with Initiative back in action.
I think these are looking very, very interesting to see what this kind of new decks will bring. I will for certain, have a little bit more focus on Breakfast. I think also that Painter is still a strong deck, for example. We shouldn't forget about this. But it probably has to shift its 75 a little bit to move the flex slots around so that it can be adjusted to the metagame that will be evolving at a certain point in time. So yeah, that's it.
So if you like our shortcast, follow us on social media. It's @response_legacy everywhere. You can find me on Twitter @PhindekMTG, PHINDKMTG. Peter, where can we find you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter. It's @UnicornLord, but the O in the Lord is 0. What about you, Daniel?
And you can find me on Twitter also. It's @FlyingDelver. And with this,
in response, the end.
This was In Response, a Legacy podcast. If you enjoyed the ride, feel free to support the show by following, leaving a review, or subscribe on patreon.com/response_legacy.